And welcome everyone to Wizards Pregame. We got Cardo W. Jr., Wilson Tucker Jr. The Washington Wizards are back in action this evening. They will be hosting the Utah Jazz. But the Wizards are coming into tonight's game on a six-game slide, having lost back-to-back games to the Rockets and the Magic. As I said, they'll host the Jazz tonight. The Jazz coming into this one at 18-44. The Jazz apparently decided to one-up the Wizards as they come into tonight's game on a seven-game slide, losing their last game to the Philadelphia 76ers 106-102. The injury report, which has been interesting all year long, especially with one of these teams, Utah, I'm looking at you. Anthony Davis, Keyshawn George, D'Angelo Russell, Alex Sarr, Tristan Vukovic, Jameer Watkins, and Cam Whitmore are all out tonight for the Wizards. Anthony Gill is questionable. For the Jazz, they will be without Keontae George, Jaren Jackson Jr., Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen, Yusuf Nurkic, and Vince Williams. A little bit of side news in this one. Trae Young is scheduled to make his Wizards debut this evening. So we'll finally get a glimpse to see how his game meshes with his new teammates. Obviously, we won't be seeing the full picture due to what the team's trying to achieve this season and injuries. That said, his debut is scheduled for this evening. Cardell, what are the keys to tonight's game?
Development of young players, trying to build some chemistry as far as on the Wizards side. We're adding Trey with the young core. I know Keyshawn's out, tore his elbow up. I did see that during the Rockets game. Just a freak accident that happened, and he was holding it, and they took him out shortly after. He didn't return, so kind of knew it was serious then. But it's a game of watching the young core see how they develop and evaluate guys. That's just the state that both teams are in right now. But there are some promising guys that are already established. You know what I mean? I'm going to start on Utah side of things, then work my way over to the Wizards. Keontae George, I don't think a lot of people understand how good he is. He has emerged this season, despite the record, as one of the top point guards in the NBA, man. He's super young, only 22, but he's a problem. He's averaging 24 points, 6.3 assists, 3.8 rebounds, 1.1 steals on 46, 37, 89 splits. He three-level scorer, nasty in the pick and roll, transitions, super explosive. One-on-one, he's hard to contain, he's hard to guard, got good size, but it's just his quickness and the shiftiness that makes him tough to just contain, man. And he can make any shot. You know what I mean? He makes plays for others, obviously, with the way he's second on the team in assists behind Isaiah Collier, who I'm going to talk about in a few. He's a problem. When the Jazz finally commit to trying to win games and stuff, that's when I think people really understand how good he is. And then on defense, he gets after it, especially in isolation. He gets after it on that end. He's very sound one-on-one. You can't just pick on him, to try to, drain him of his energy, so to speak, fatigue him so he can't kill you on the offensive end. He holds up on that end. He's, I don't know, people, for those that don't know, go check out his off-season workout. He works extremely hard, and that's why he's continued to get better every year, every summer. He plays both ends. He can play lead guard. He can play the two. Scores efficiently. All they need to do is surround him with the right parts. Him and Lauri Markkanen with the right parts. It ain't gonna take long. You know what I mean? So he's one of them. And you'll see it tonight. I'm eager to see how him and Trae Young battle. With both of them on it. But he's a super problem, man. I love this game. Isaiah Collier, like I said, he leads the team in assists, 7.2 assists per game, averaging 11.1 points, 50% from the field, but not the most efficient three-point shooter. Only 27% from deep, 72% from the free throw line. Super strong floor general, pesky defender. His main game is setting up teammates at this point, but he can't get downhill with his size and his strength and explosiveness and finish at the rim and, get to the free throw line where he hits 72%. But his whole thing is touching the paint and then finding open players. The Wizards struggled with that early, when they played them out in Utah. So they got to do a better job. Look, I get it, it's tough. He's a bruiser, 6'4", 210, solid. When the inevitable contact happens, you're going to feel it. But you got to be able to stay strong and stay with it, man. You just got to ignore that the pain or bruises that come with it, because that's the only way you're gonna be able to contain it. If not, it won't be hard for him to put up 15 to 20 points, between 7 to 10 assists, and he will be the reason why you lose this game, or any game moving forward. That tandem with him and George is a problem, and they're young and they're growing together. Next up is obviously the rookie Ace Bailey, man. Like I said, he's one of the guys you just want to keep watching, paying attention to his development. High draft pick for the Jazz. Super athletic, two-way kind of guy with the potential to be a efficient three-way scorer, and a versatile defender as well. Um, right now, he's just learning the ropes, man. It is what it is. What I'm saying? It takes time. But for him, he's averaging 12.1 points, 4 rebounds, 1.7 assists. Obviously, that's not the ball's always in George and Collier's hands, so he's not going to be needed in the sense to make too many plays. But when he does have a chance to do that, he's capable. Let's just say that. Got to get his efficiency up. 43, 33, 75 shooting splits. Got to get his efficiency up. But we all know he's a talent. But my main thing is I want to see him rumble with other guys that are kind of like trying to prove themselves as well. You're gonna get his, Bilal. You want to rumble with Bilal, Will Riley, and all those guys. I really wanted to see that matchup with Keyshawn, but obviously Keyshawn's banged up. But yeah, this is this is just about reps at this point. We all know what they're fighting for. We all know they're positioning themselves for the draft, the loaded draft. But the thing about this loaded draft is that if you show you cannot handle things with the rope that they've given you, they're gonna be in that draft pool looking for somebody to take your job. So that's why I'm saying a lot of these young players are being evaluated very much on a detailed level, so they better deliver. You know what I mean? Game in and game out, regardless of how the organization is trying to position themselves for the draft and all that stuff. But we all know he's a hell of a talent, man. It's just about the game slowing down, him really truly just becoming become studying and becoming more of an expert at the NBA game, so that he can apply it to the court when it's time, and then he can maximize his potential, man. But he has immense potential. Off to a decent start, but he can always get better. You know what I mean? And then last but not least, Kyle Filipowski. We've seen him come in this building in DC and just go to work on the Wizards time and time again. He's a problem, man, with the way he can stretch the floor, post up with his size, run the floor, pick and roll threat, pick and pop threat, pick and slip threat, goal screen threat. He's just a monster, and if you're not physical and keeping a body on him, or if you have a big that's not mobile, it could be a long night, and he can go to work, with the way he can shoot the ball and how he can move. He's averaging 10.1 points, 6.7 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 49% from the field, 33% from deep, and 73% from the free throw line. Don't let the 33% from deep fool you. He's capable. I think last season came up in and hit about 4-5 threes and really blew the game open. So he's fully capable of doing this thing. I mean, he's averaging 10, basically 10 and 7 in 22 minutes. So what happens if that gets to be 30, 35 minutes? It's not rocket science, people. So he's fully capable of disrupting this game and being a problem. So, but again, 22 years old, he's one of those young players that's being evaluated as well, man. So you get to see how he battles. Did you see Alex Sarr was out?
Yeah, no Sarr. No Sarr.
Okay, so Vucevic, Julian Reese, all those young bigs is gonna be kind of in the same boat. So it's gonna be good to see how he battles now. Just another test that the Wizards got to pass, man. And can't forget about Nurkic, averaging 10.9 points, 10.4 rebounds. He leads the team in that category. So he's averaging a double-double and 4.8 assists. So they got some beef up front. You know what I mean? The Wizards a little bit thin up front. They're gonna have to bang. They're gonna have to deal with some bruises because Filipowski and Nurkic are they're skill bigs, but they're bruising bigs, which means they're big and they solid and they hit you. They love contact and they gonna make you play through contact. So the young Wizards, especially when they go small, had all those wings playing the 4-5. They have to show some toughness. Otherwise, it could be a long night. And last but not least, man, Trae Young. Finally get a glimpse of to see how he meshes with this young core. Obviously, no AD, but still no SAR either, and no Keyshawn. So some key pieces to that young core is not there, and obviously AD not being there. But I like the fact that he's playing just to kind of see where he fits with the young core and how he could play off of them, and they could play off of him. Against real competition in real time. Obviously, the Jazz are not one of the better teams, but still they're NBA players. So they're going against players that's trying to prove something. Trae Young is a former All-Star. He has a big name, big-time star in the league. So the Jazz have a bunch of young pieces that are trying to prove themselves and make a name. So they're going to be trying to go at Trae Young's head. So it's going to be interesting to see, man. We all know what he could do. We all know he's a 3-level scorer, especially master pick and roll, master manipulating things out the pick and roll, master at it. He can carve you up with the way he can hit floaters and hit threes and get to the free throw line, but also pocket passes and dump offs and lobs and find the open shooters with the way he can facilitate. We all know he's a problem. It's just the opposite end where, see, we got to see more effort on there, more efficiency, more effectiveness on that end. If he holds up on that end and the Wizards are healthy and the young core continue to grow and all that, we all know they have the potential with the roster they have, the talent that they have to do some damage next season. We all know that, man. But I feel like a lot of their success start with Trae Young. He's the floor general. He's the leader. You know what I'm saying? Outside of AD, when he returns, he's the floor general. He's the catalyst, man. Because like any level of basketball, if every time if you on the wings or you're big, you running down court, with your man, and you turn around, you feel somebody up on your back, that's a problem. And that's how a lack of trust is formed. And because they getting past Trae Young all the time, that's how a lack of trust is formed. And I don't care how much firepower you have, if you don't defend, you only gonna win so many games. So that's the only thing with Trae, man. But if he holds up on there and puts up a fight, I'm not worried about offense. If he holds up on the defense end and put up a fight and just be solid on that end, the Wizards got the potential to do some things next year.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's so much positive on the offensive end, and like you said, we'll need you to stop it. Like you have to turn in. It's impossible for you to turn into Drew Holiday. Put up enough of a fight to where the other 4 folks on the floor can help you. That's it. And you're always gonna have 4 people that are capable, but if you can't hold up long enough for them to be able to help you, like you said, we've seen teams leave the playoffs because folks can't hold up.
Right.
Very talented teams, but I agree wholeheartedly with every box that was checked. You talk about what he brings to the table. So, another thing is how many times have we got on here talking about the opposing team's point guard took control of the game? Washington couldn't wrestle control of it back. That's another thing where now in the future, if everything goes well, you have that in your corner too. You have somebody who can control the game. But again, not if it matters. Defensive end of the floor isn't taken care of. I don't have too much to add. Like you said, there's a evaluation period for both squads. This first round, the first round of this draft coming up this year, extremely deep.
Sure.
So it's not just these 2 teams; it's league wide. Somebody, say you've been drafted within the last 2 years. Hey man, if I was you, I would make sure my spot was taken care of. That's all I'm saying. Not oftentimes teams get a chance in pro sports to pivot that quick because there's just an excess of talent in a draft. Well-run teams are able to pivot because of how they manage themselves. This is one of those rare situations where, say you've mismanaged things a couple years. First round of this draft might, you might be able to get back on track.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying, it kind of you steer the car back on the road. So again, big time evaluation period for most teams in the league, especially these two teams. When you said we know what they've made it clear what they've been about, what they're trying to secure. So we will see how things look. Ray's at the arena. We'll check in with you guys along with Ray after the game. So Cardell gave you guys the keys to the game. Keep them in mind. Enjoy tonight's game. Enjoy Trey Young's debut, and we'll see you guys later this